Junji Ito fans have been dealing with disappointment for years now, but fear not, because we finally have a win to our names. Uzumaki, the adaptation of Ito's possibly most famous work, just premiered on Adult Swim after over 4 long years of development, and when we say it was worth it, it was so worth it. The brilliant animation, all in black and white, captures Ito's art in the purest form, leading to some of the grossest anime scenes you'll see for the next few years. Seriously, if you don't want to see a woman literally inhale a man while breaking every bone in his body, this isn't the series for you. Just a note up front, the anime itself is only 4 episodes, each ranging from about 20 minutes at minimum to 40 max, so there are going to be some pretty major cuts and rearrangements in the story. Just to keep things straight and easy to follow, we'll be recapping based off the manga and noting what's been combined or cut. With a series like Uzumaki though, it's not so hard since most of the manga is made up of separate stories that don't spiral together until the end. Oh, and if you get too dizzy with all the spirals in the video, just take a second to look down at the like, subscribe, and follow buttons. They stay still most of the time. Our story starts with Kiri, a high school girl in Kuruzucho, a seaside Japanese town. It seems small, idyllic, like a place you could go to forget about all your problems and just stare at the sea. Except Junji Ito is writing this, so it's going to become hell on earth before too long. Kiri seems to have the perfect life though, with a boyfriend named Shuichi who lives nearby, but goes to school in a different town. It's Shuichi who becomes the first to notice the pervasive nature of the spirals. Every day after school, Kiri meets Shuichi as he arrives back by train, catching each other up on their days. Today is different though, as Kiri begins to notice an uptick in whirlwinds blowing through the town and whirlpools forming in the river. Mini tornadoes running through the streets should really be your first sign to get out of town, but maybe that's just me. Shuichi notices it too, but he's started to see it emerge not just in nature, but in his own home. Kiri notices Shuichi's father standing in an alleyway during the day, mumbling to himself as he studies a spiraling snail shell on the wall. Even when Kiri tries to speak to him, he doesn't respond, losing himself in the spiral of obsession. According to Shuichi, this isn't the first time something like this happened, and it's only about to get stranger for him. Shuichi begins recounting the strange behavior of his father, believing it's the town spirals that have been affecting him. The night before, he got angry with his wife for the fish cakes in his soup not being spiral-shaped, stirring it vigorously to make up for the lack of the shape. Then, we get a full scene of this man, bare butt to the screen, making his own little whirlpool in their tub before he gets in for a bath. Seems like just a weird guy being weird, right? Typical midlife crisis stuff, except their interactions start getting so much weirder. Shuichi swears that he saw his father's eyes start spinning independently of one another, each one moving in a separate direction at speeds that would make Sonic the Hedgehog sick. Kiri discounts it as being eccentric, but the situation is about to get even closer to home than she would like. See, Kiri's dad is a sculptor, making everything from decorative pottery to plates, pots, and pans. He also does commissions, which is where Shuichi's father enters the picture. He believes Kiri's father is the highest form of an artist known to man, using pottery to truly achieve the essence of the spiral, as he calls it. After a really uncomfortable moment of Shuichi's dad fawning over pottery, he commissions a special piece to get himself closer to the spiral. Oh, and on the way out, he sticks his tongue out far enough to make it curl in on itself, looking right at Kiri while he does it for extra creep factor. Definitely not the way to make an impression on your son's girlfriend. If we're making an impression on you though, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. We promise not to make weird spiral tongue shapes at you. We swear. In between all of this happening, we're getting small glimpses into life outside of their homes. At school the next day, Kiri speaks with Azami, a girl in her class who's known for getting any guy she wants. Kiri notices a crescent-shaped scar on Azami's forehead, which she attributes to her unnatural attractiveness. Of course, she's just another soon-to-be victim of the spiral. Everything is weird enough, right? The animation so far has really captured the perfect spiraling dread of Ito's artwork, and now it's only about to get more gruesome. Azami walks to the train station with Kiri that afternoon on her usual trip to meet Shuichi as he gets home. As soon as Shuichi meets Azami though, they barely get introduced by Kiri before he starts freaking out. Shuichi says that Azami is already infected with the spiral, with the aura around her giving off super bad vibes. Her reaction? To say it's probably her scar that makes her irresistible to men. She pulls aside her bangs to reveal it lengthened, the edge of the crescent extending to spiral inward. This is only episode 1, people. It gets so much weirder from here. At this point in the episode, we're pulling parts from the first 3 chapters, but the anime decides to do something a little weird and skip forward to chapter 8, giving the beginnings of the Snail Boy Story from the manga. Kiri and her entire class are just sitting there mid-lesson on a rainy day when a kid named Katayama comes in. Their teacher immediately gets onto him, and for pretty good reason. The kid is so slow, he would make a sloth look like the Flash, and he didn't bother using an umbrella or anything. He only comes to class when it rains, and when it comes time for the gym, he can barely move fast enough to play volleyball with the others. Kids are gonna be kids, of course. This means they're going to be evil little assholes, and they start bullying Katayama when everyone gets into the locker room later. They take his shirt off and throw him on the floor, making fun of how slimy he is, drops of sweat covering him. Then they notice the spiral. Seriously, it looks like a tattoo at first, but as Katayama is on the ground in fear, a spiral on his back starts freaking moving. It's just swirling inward, growing the entire time like a snake on his back. Yeah, nobody is staying to make fun of him after that, and he's left on the floor. Not the weirdest thing to happen that day though. As night falls, Shuichi gets a call from a friend who says he needs to show him something. Meanwhile, Kiri walks across town, intending to go visit Shuichi. On the way, she runs into her friend Azami, now wearing a huge hat to cover the brim of her face. As Kiri gets closer, Azami asks her about Shuichi, saying that she wonders if he'll like her more now. Alright, to Kiri's credit, the girl is not scared off easily. Azami pulls the hat off, revealing that the upper right side of her head is now fully absorbed by the spiral. While Kiri is watching, Azami's right eye is sucked back into the spiral, like it's being flushed down a toilet before finally disappearing. Then, like nothing even happened, this girl just walks right the hell off into the night. Talk about casual. Meanwhile, Kiri is left wondering what the hell just happened to her. Flashback over to Shuichi and things are weird. The boy leads him into a dark park, revealing, the like and subscribe buttons. The horror, okay, maybe not that scary, but if you have a love for horror anime, not pressing those buttons is pretty terrifying. Make sure to follow for more horrifying, twisted anime content. Lurking in the park, waiting for Shuichi to show, is Azami, still wearing the hat from minutes before when she spoke to Kiri. Turns out, she told this dude that if he brought Shuichi to her, she would go on a date with him. Azami starts getting into a weird spiel about how Shuichi is the only boy to ever reject her again, but now she asks if he's more interested since she changed her look. Taking the hat off, we get to see the rapid deterioration she's gone through in just minutes since seeing Kiri. And now, the entire top of her head has been consumed by the spiral. There's just an empty vortex where her eyes and forehead should be, yet she's speaking and moving like there's nothing wrong at all. The stupid guy, the one who believed he would get a date and isn't even worth a name, tries to get a closer look. Honestly, that makes him kind of deserve what happens next. Azami pretty much eats him, absorbing him into the spiral like a damn plane engine and breaking every bone possible. So, you've just seen a man get blended like a Starbucks Frappuccino? What now? Shuichi gets the right idea and jumps into a nearby tree. Meanwhile, Kiri, still out and about, hears the disturbance and runs right for it. Self-preservation isn't one of her strong suits, but you've got to applaud her bravery or stupidity. Meanwhile, the spiral is consuming Azami from the inside out, absorbing the rest of her body like a singularity absorbing space around it. Finally, as Shuichi pulls Kiri into the tree he's hiding in, the last of Azami's body crumples in on itself, disappearing like she never even existed. That's gonna be a rough one to explain to her parents. Again, we're only in the first episode and haven't even reached the most gruesome part of it. Shuichi walks Kiri home before returning to his own family, where he and his mother notice his father's obsession has become much more than just creating spirals. They've checked into a hospital for him, but when they come back home to try and actually get him, he's nowhere to be found. Until they find the huge pottery commission he got from Kiri's dad in his home office. Shuichi's father got into the round box, contorting and twisting his body into a spiral to fit into it, and somehow still managed to shut the lid after getting in. Even his tongue is curled out in a spiral, eyes still spinning even in death as his wife and son find his body. The next day they hold his funeral, and Kiri and her family come out to support Shuichi and his mother in this trying time. They all gather near the pond outside the funeral home, where Shuichi's father is being loaded into a cremation oven, except things somehow, beyond all odds, get more strange. Not as strange as you not liking and subscribing yet, of course. Make sure to click the buttons below to follow, because Uzumaki is just getting started. As his father's body burns in the crematorium, smoke rises up from the funeral home stacks, whirling ash into the sky above. Already a little weird, considering the smoke is forming a huge spiral. But hey, weird things happen around here all the time, right? Ha, wrong! A face begins to form in the ashes, a spiral of smoke twisting into the form of Shuichi's father. Even as his mother falls to the ground, begging him to stop this madness, the smoke keeps rising further and further into the air, covering the town with the mark of the spiral. Look, considering how insane things have been during just the past few days in Uzumaki, Shuichi's mother getting admitted to a mental hospital is totally understandable. Except now, she hears Shuichi's father, beckoning her to join him in the spiral. Yeah, nope, not something that anyone hears while continuing to live a normal life. Now she's paranoid about any spiral around her, knowing that anything could unleash the same evil that took her husband. Her solution? Cut off her fingertips and hair to get rid of any spirals on her body. Who the hell let her have scissors in a mental hospital? Talk about medical malpractice. Shuichi can't even come around to visit without donning a hat and wearing gloves, hiding the spirals from his mother. The episode ends here, with the next promising to pick up on threads continued in the manga. Considering how they're rearranging and combining stories, it's doing wonders for the pacing, and this short 4-episode series might finally be the winning adaptation of Junji Ito's opus. So long as they don't try to make it like a live-action movie. Want to talk about a real spiral into insanity? Try watching that disaster and see how it looks. Now that we've begun our descent into the spiral, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell for reminders on new videos. We want to bring some of the spookiest anime content possible to YouTube, so if you like being scared, we're the place to be.